Hi guys, welcome to another beer review, and I've got a sort of like Valerian Borowczyk sort of Lebeta glow with this video. It's because the the screen where the camera is a little bit dirty from greasy fingers. At least I hope it's grease. Nudge nudge, wink wink, or that should be nudge nudge, wank wank. But where the hell am I going with that? So this is a review of Time and Tide's Whisky Kraken, which is a whiskey barrel-aged coffee stout with whiskey barrel-aged cold brew coffee, clocking in at 7.4%. And Time of Tide, of course, coming from my good friend Craig, aka Kent Beer Reviews, neck of the woods, Kent. And it's one of his local breweries, and funny enough, you will have already seen it, hopefully, on his channel. We already did a live review together, and I thought, do you know what? I need to get that reviewed on my channel as well, which doesn't really make too much sense because you can't monetize anymore when you're a nobody. But yeah, I just wanted to shoot my own review of it, to be honest. And yeah, so best before date is the 12th of the 12th, 2019. It's a 375ml bottle. Don't know why I said 5 like that. And the Whisky Kraken, coffee stout aged in whiskey barrels, blended with whiskey barrel-aged cold brew coffee. The one thing that I would like, I mean, the artwork is just fantastic on these labels. The one thing I would like is just a bit of like recognition to what whiskey barrels they were, or what specific blend of coffee, if they brewed this in collaboration with a coffee house, that sort of thing. Because I think Time and Tide have their own sort of roasting things to do. Yeah, and but it would just be nice to know a little bit more about the ingredients, because I'm always interested by that sort of stuff. I'm really getting into, and this is going to sound twatty as hell, but I don't care. I'm really getting into artisanal coffee because I've finally got a coffee V60 dripper thing, so I can actually have ground coffee now. And just need a coffee grinder so I can grind my own beans. And yeah, so I've been really getting into proper coffee recently. So I'd like to know who are the good roasters in the UK to get really high quality and different coffee beans. But anyway, that's just you know, I don't have the Uber hipster glasses yet. They're in the post, and I've yet to actually find a beret. So I do apologise. Plus, my turtlenecks, I'm a little too fat for them at the moment, which is always a shame. So I don't have that image cemented down just yet, but bear with me. I've already got those like overly campy actions with my hands and that sort of stuff. But anyway, where the hell am I going with this beer review? So the Whisky Kraken, 7.4%. Had a really good time reviewing this with my good friend Craig. And I picked this bottle up from Northern Beer Temple. Slowly becoming, well, not slowly, because every time I've been there, I've picked up amazing beers for good prices. Well, great prices. And yeah, one of my favourite bottle shops, and it's local to me. And yeah, picked this up for less than £5. So it's a lot better than paying Manchester prices, like I did with the Apex Twin Barrel Aged Stout, which was a little bit thin, a little bit of an anticlimactic beer. But yeah, anyway, £5 for a beer like this, for a barrel-aged beer, whiskey barrel-aged beer. What wonderful times we live in as beer lovers. But yeah, so already consumed most of the beer. And as you can see, it is almost jet black, but you do see those sort of like ruby oaky sort of tones around the rim of the glass. And I don't know how well that's going to show up, but there is almost like a film to it. I was saying in the live view, it almost reminds me, when it's like perfectly still, of like jelly that started to set, so you could like dip your finger in and like bounce on the top. Do you know what I mean? It's got that sort of like density to it. But yeah, it looks absolutely fantastic. So let's see what we get on the nose. you do get that whiskey character. It was a little bit more potent when we initially opened this, but this has been in the glass, you know, rating, is that, if that's the correct word, for a good while now. So it has settled down a little bit, but you are definitely getting that whiskey sort of tone. I know it's unfair to compare them, but it's not as harsh as something like Backwards Bastard from Founders, which is just like a punch in the face with that whiskey barrel. But it's definitely there. You pick up that barrel a lot as well, that like minerally woodiness to it, which is really nice. It's a lovely smelling beer, but it's really quite boozy on the nose, especially for a 7.4% ABV beer. So that could potentially like scare people off. But aside from that whiskey barrel, you get a lovely coffee aroma in there, like a black coffee. And you're getting so many desserts, like let's see, what's that called? With the you soak the like the sponge fingers, even though it's not the proper way to do it. I know, in like coffee and like liqueur, then you put cream. Tiramisu. You're getting a bit of tiramisu, Black Forest Gatto, like a steeped Christmas pudding sort of vibe from it. Really quite sweet. That lovely cinnamon vanilla sort of aroma coming from that whiskey is really nice as well. Almost reminds me of and whiskey aficionados cover your ears right now. It's reminding me a little bit of Jim Beam's Honey. That whiskey, which I don't really drink whiskey. I used to have like I said in the live review, I did have a Jack Daniels phase where it started off with like a Jack Daniels and Coke, which is really nice every now and then. But then I was like, 18, about to go to uni, trying to impress women way out of my league. I was like being friend zoned before friend zoned was even a word. And, swigging it out of the bottle, absolutely hating it as it was happening because it was just going straight down to the back of my throat. But, like, yeah, I love Jack Daniels. So I had that phase. But, yeah, you are getting that sort of, like, sweet blended whiskey sort of aroma to it, or bourbon almost, I'd say. So let's taste it. Obviously, I've just started drinking it. It's not as boozy on the palate as the nose would suggest. The body is a little bit thin. That being said, it's got a lovely slight milkiness to it, and there's almost like a graininess in there as well. It reminds me of if you're making like yourself a chocolate milkshake from the chocolate powder or like a hot chocolate, and you don't mix it properly, you sort of still get those grains that haven't dissolved. It sort of reminded me of that when drinking it, and almost sort of like that when you've had cereal and there's like little bits of the cereal left in the milk, which is cereal milk. They need to bottle that or put that in cartons because it's so unhygienic and nasty if you were to like actually sell that. But that's the best part of breakfast cereal. You let your breakfast cereal go to complete mush. It's always got to be mush. Crunchy nut cornflakes don't have to be crunchy. They are so much better when they have just completely just become a mush in the milk and absorbed all that milk up. And then once you finish your cereal, you've got that lovely lumpy milk in there. They need to like put that in containers. They really, really do. And if they do, point me into that direction because I'm bulk ordering that because I absolutely love that stuff. So it's got that sort of feel to it almost. Definitely get a berry character. Sort of reminds me of a little bit of sultana actually in there. Cranberry almost as well, but not as sweet and vibrant. Big hit of a woodiness there. You get more of a flavour punch on the back end from the bitterness of the beer, the sweet bittersweetness of the whiskey, and then that barrel, that earthiness, that woodiness. But I've got to say, for a 7.4%, is it 7.4? Yeah, 7.4% barrel-aged Imperial Stout. It's not bold in your face or anything like that. There's no harshness. But at the same time, it's deceptively drinkable. So it's got that sort of like really perfect middle ground. Middle ground, diagonal lines, Peter. Yeah, that's middle ground. Middle ground sort of feel to it. So if you're trying to get into barrel-aged beers and you want that flavour, but you're a little bit put off by some of the big boys like the 10% plus beers, then definitely give this one a go. This is a lovely surprise. It really, really is. And for less than £5, how can you complain at that? The fact that they're even selling that for £5, and that's including distributors markup, and then of course Northern Beer Temple, where I bought it from, he's got to make a little bit of money to keep the shop afloat. So the fact that the final price of this beer was less than £5, that's absolutely amazing. Great value for money, and it's great quality as well. As I said earlier, I had the Apex Twin Barrel Aged Double Stout, which was nice, don't get me wrong, but this is like 2.6% less ABV, but has so much more flavour, so much more boldness, and it's that robustness, but like accessibility that really works in this beer's favour. And on that note, I could definitely give this one a 9 out of 10. Lovely stuff. I'd love a bomber bottle of this. It's a perfect beer to share with people. Have this towards Christmas, those winter months. It's going to pair beautifully with a really nice decadent dessert. Or you could have a really some nice pungent cheeses, baby, with this as well. Terrible, terrible Dusty Rhodes Greg's Beer Reviews impression there. Sorry, Joe. But yeah, lovely, lovely stuff. And it was a real pleasure to actually share this beer with Craig, which was a happy accident, actually, because we didn't plan on like, oh, I know I can buy a bottle of this and you've got a bottle of that. Let's do a live review. It was like, I was in Northern Beer Temple buying other beers, saw that they had this, and I was like, ooh, very nice. Ooh, less than £5. Happy days. And then I find out that Craig's got a bottle, and it made perfect sense that myself and Craig would do a live review. So if you want to hear what our thoughts were initially, when the bottle was still somewhat younger in the glass, it's not proper England, then I'll put that link down below. Of course, check out Craig from Kent Beer Reviews. He's reviewed a hell of a lot of Time and Tide's beers because they are one of his local breweries. And yeah, check out Northern Beer Temple. If any other friends and fellow beer tubers have reviewed this one, then I'll put their links down below. Check out my Imperial Stout playlist. Well, it's not really an Imperial Stout. Thornbridge would say that that was an Imperial Stout. But yeah, it's amazing that they've pulled that off in a 7.4% beer. And I think it really does speak volumes about the base beer itself. So I would be interested to try different variations, like a Pinot Noir barrel-aged version of this, or a sherry cask version of it, or a really Omnipolo-esque, abused with adjuncts sort of barrel-aged version. I think it really does show the quality of the base beer itself. The only thing is, I'd like to know what sort of whiskey barrels were used, what sort of coffee was used, that sort of thing. You do get the coffee in there, so if you like your coffee, you're going to pick it up, but it's not too in your face. It's got that sort of like lovely mellow blend to it, and you get more of the coffee bitterness on the back end, I'd say, which really lends itself beautifully to that sort of like vanilla peatiness from the whiskey. So yeah, a really surprisingly complex yet easy drinking beer, and it's 9 out of 10 from me. So I think I've nearly gone on for as long as the live beer review. Thank you for watching this, and thank you to anyone who watched the live beer review. Check out my review of the Apex Twin as well. I'll put that down below. Check out Craig. Check out Time and Tide. Check out Northern Beer Temple. And more importantly, I hope you'll join me next time for another beer review. And if you've tried this one, let me know your thoughts and opinions. Anyway, I've waffled on for way too long. I'm due another beer, and I think we'll be doing a hangout. So, happy days. Thank you all for watching. See you later.